Here is one of two issues with a lot of our prisons. Here we have a 22-year-old person who was put in jail for petty theft and put into the same area with violent criminals and end up killed. The second problem is how and why did the uh, prison guards not stop this from happening? Because they knew it was happening and did nothing about it. Uh, our private prisons are some of the worst hellholes that people can be sent to, and yet we're supposed to believe that people are sent there to be reformed when the only thing that happens is they're either killed in prison or non-violent offenders are put around violent offenders and they become worse people.
A community gathering to remember 22-year-old Daniel Williams.
It's really been hard for all of us.
His fiancée, the mother of his young daughter, questions why Williams, serving a 1-year sentence on a theft charge, was living among violent criminals.
We want answers. That's all we want is answers and why they let this happen. Every time God, I'm ready to come home to my family.
But the young father
I wouldn't be surprised that the guards just didn't like him and allowed this to happen just so that they can get rid of him. Quite often, prison guards will kill people in prison or allow other inmates to kill people so that they don't have to deal with them.
would never make it home, the victim of a horrific murder, reportedly drugged, hogtied, and raped at Staten Prison in what the Department of Corrections called.
Okay, if he was drugged and hogtied, then there were guards that were helping these people get drugs into the prison. We have to investigate prison guards. We got to make profit, for-profit private prisons illegal because it is it is insane that people can profit off of people being arrested. And we gotta have stricter regulations on the officers and what happens in these prisons.
Called a possible inmate on inmate assault.
This was a preventable death. The 38-year-old suspect in this kidnapping, rape, and torture was involved in 9 instances of sex assault, rape, and stabbing since 2017.
Alabama Appleseed's Carla Crowder calling on a state committee to make unannounced visits to the prisons to have more oversight over a prison system plagued by violence. The inmate suspected of killing Williams was serving a 20-year sentence for sodomy, assault, and escape. State documents reviewed by ABC 3340 News showed he had a long history of disciplinary records dating back to 2015, when he nearly killed another inmate, stabbing him multiple times. Records also reveal.
Okay, so the people that put him into the same cell as this very violent criminal knew what would happen. And I wouldn't doubt the prison guards had a pool to see how long this 22-year-old would survive.
Multiple cases where the inmate was cited for being in possession of a weapon 6 times over a 5-year period. State classification records also show a history of 6 sexual assault allegations and accusations of pressuring, harassing inmates for sex. Despite all those reports in multiple prisons, the inmate's classification showed a 5-year clear record of institutional violence, which gave him a.
Okay, so that means that like the wardens and the prison guards and stuff are falsifying this person's record that they can have petty criminals put into the same cell as him so this can repeatedly happen.
A score of 0 on his risk assessment in October of this year. That allowed him to move freely in an open bay dorm. 9 days after that report, Williams would be.
I wouldn't be surprised if this inmate is bribing guards so that he can have free roam of the place. having his score set to 0.
Found unresponsive on the assigned bed of his alleged attacker.
It's hard to even begin to suggest remedies sufficient to correct this kind of unconscionable neglect and incompetence.
It is crazy how one of the most powerful nations in the world has some of the worst prison systems, even compared to North Korea and China. We have the most people in prison compared to anybody else in the world, and it is some of the worst. And we're the richest nations. Somehow, uh, European nations like Norway and stuff can actually have prisons that are able to reform people, but somehow America, the best nation, or supposedly the best nation, can't do that. There's the propaganda going on. Americans are told the United States is the best nation, and we are doing the best, but that is far from true.
Daniel Williams' father touched by the public interest and outrage over the death of his son, hoping it will lead to change.
Change ain't gonna happen.